Good evening, gentlemen, and a few of you ladies that may be listening. This is Spiritual Art of War, back at it again with another episode, and this time we're going to talk about Klay Thompson and Megan Thee Stallion, and, you know, pretty much those in the entertainment and sports world, the men. Okay, and of course, I'm pretty sure many of y'all have came across the news that Klay Thompson is currently dating Megan Thee Stallion. Some people believe it's some kind of a PR move. Ain't no real telling, but I mean, what would be the PR move on the behalf of Klay Thompson, seeing that he's made, you know, so much money? I mean, this guy is literally like an NBA champion. He's probably one of the top 5 or 10 greatest shooters of all time. Definitely top 10. I mean, I think it's even debatable, probably top 5 all time. And he was one of the best two-way players of our era. In addition to that, he's made a ton of money. He still has some years left in him because of his style of play, and he's playing for a team that probably after next season will probably be competing for a championship when Kyrie Irving comes back. So when we're looking at the situation for Klay Thompson, it makes no sense as to why he would be dating her if it was a PR issue. In regards to Megan Thee Stallion, I mean, I don't even understand that whole situation with why he would choose Megan Thee Stallion. But Megan Thee Stallion, it benefits her as a woman to be with a man like Klay Thompson, because it shows that she still has value on the market. And this is one of the reasons why I tell men all the time, as much as we think that women don't have options, especially the Tatianas, the fact is that when women see a woman that moves the way that Megan Thee Stallion has moved over the years, and she's still able to attract a man on the caliber of Klay Thompson, it emboldens them. And let's be real, most women will never be on the level of Megan Thee Stallion in terms of looks. Okay, I mean, she's from Houston. You know, on a Houston scale, I give her like probably about an 8.5. You know, probably 9, but it just depends on if you like certain aspects of her, because, you know, some people may have a problem with, you know, her face or whatever, which I don't have a problem with it, but some of you guys, y'all like that cookie cutter nose surgery look, you know what I'm saying? But she has a symmetrical face, she has a smile. Some people also may think that her face leans on a little bit more masculine side, but she's actually trimmed down in weight. She's more of a slim, thick, athletic build. So I think her face is coming out a little bit more feminine than in times past. And if you look at her video, everything, I think it's called Bigger in Texas. Yeah, she's a fine woman, bro. So don't think for one second that an NBA player is not going to holler at her, considering the fact that one of her exes is Torrey Smith, who played for the Chicago Bulls, and she got with him after she broke up with Partisan Fontaine, who was looking like a simp after it was found out that she was also seeing other men behind his back, okay? So that's why they broke up. But it still didn't prevent Klay Thompson from pursuing her. Now, is Klay Thompson pursuing her for a fun time or for a long time? Only time will tell. I mean, Megan Thee Stallion, I believe she's around 30 years old. She's probably looking to get a baby out of a dude, and if anything, she'd want to have a baby out of a guy that has high status. And maybe Klay Thompson is ready for that. I don't know. Segueing on off of that as well, in connection to Klay Thompson, we've seen that Donovan Mitchell has popped the question to the one Coco Jones. I believe her father was a former NFL player, and she's also now a singer. A lot of the women in the black, among the black female circle, the sisterhood, like her because she's a pretty dark-skinned chick, and they like the fact that she has options and they live vicariously through her. I think she's a very attractive woman, so I'm not knocking her at all. You know, she's a very attractive woman. She comes from a background of, you know, sports and entertainment with her father. She's also a woman who has put forth herself and showing that she has some talent as a singer. And, she has found kind of what people would think as a power couple / comparable match. Black people, especially black women, are obsessed with the power couple story. They love when a man that's has high status and means also gets with a woman that's like that as well. A la Jay-Z and Beyonce. So here's part of the problem, though. Klay Thompson used to date Coco Jones. So this is a woman who's already been passed around in NBA circles, and she found an NBA player who's a max contract player, perennial, all-star, perennial all-NBA player in Donovan Mitchell, who's one of the better players in the league. Definitely, probably, I would say, a top 15 player. And he still has, some years left in his career. So he's decided to pop the question to her. And the thing about the fact, imagine playing basketball. Here it is, you're making $50-60 million a year. You're playing basketball, you step on the court, Cleveland Cavaliers are playing the Dallas Mavericks, and the guy you're guarding used to do have monkey sex with your girl, with your ex, or with your girl who was his ex. That's just weird to me. And this is the reason why I don't get it. I really just don't get it. 300 of almost 50 million people in this country, and these men continually recycle the same group of women. It's just insane. Same thing with Klay Thompson, the Torrey Smith player or whatever. Same situation. You're sitting there cupcaking it up with Megan Thee Stallion, and an NBA player who's largely a role player used to have her doing backflips and splits on him in the bedroom. It's just crazy to me. And I just don't know if these guys are just in such a bubble that they just cannot see the options outside of these these famous female Tatianas. I just don't get it. I really just don't get it. I just don't get it, bro. I tried to wreck my brain about it. In fact, I actually did this same episode a few days ago, and I couldn't even get my thoughts across because it was just mind-boggling to me. So I had to step back and let a couple of days go by before I could gather my thoughts to talk about this subject. But this is a never-ending. And you know what's crazy? I see absolutely stunning, beautiful young woman all the time. All the time. If I go to the store, I might see like 5 or 6, especially in the area that I'm in. I might see 5 or 6 of all races walking in and out the store, bruh. And it's like, these women are just as good looking as some of the women I mentioned. And they're not famous. They probably got an IG with 2,000 people on that joker. Some of them are going to community college. Some of them working at Starbucks or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, some of these women, they're all over the country. And these guys are still just choosing whatever, bro. They're choosing the same woman. I don't get it. Maybe there's something that we don't know about in the celebrity world, that if you link up with this other celebrity woman, you're able to get these different brand deals, outside. Maybe Klay Thompson's going to get some kind of a brand deal because he's dealing with Megan Thee Stallion. Maybe it's going to give him, allow him to model for Christian Dior. I don't know. I don't know. Because, that's some of the argument that people had concerning Ciara and Russell Wilson, that Russell Wilson got some kind of benefit off the field in endorsements and visibility because he's with Ciara, and it kind of raises his profile, as they say. And maybe that's how they're looking at it. Or maybe there's some kind of Illuminati keeping things in the famous circle where your kids will also be a part of that, and your progeny benefits from these type of relationships and sets up. I don't know. I really don't know what it is, bro. Because it's just that's the only thing I could come to a conclusion on. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not making any other sense any other way. And the thing about it, when women see this, when they see a woman that is clearly a bad woman, a toxic woman, they kind of mirror that in their own lives. They say, well, listen, I've been a bad, terrible woman, but that doesn't mean I can't get a guy that's, could be good to me as well. So maybe that's what it is. Because that's the only way that I can kind of comprehend all this madness that we're seeing on a regular basis. That's really what it is. I'm like, that's the only way I can look at it. But, all this stuff is influencing these women, bro. Because that's the reason why all this stuff falls on deaf ears. Yes, these women are not as good looking as a Coco Jones or Megan Thee Stallion. Yes, they're not famous. They don't have all these followers. But women live in fantasy land. And they bring that fantasy land mentality into the real world. I'm telling you. They bring it into the real world, and they basically think that they can pull off some of these stunts just on a minor level. So it's one of these things where you got to just kind of shake your head at it sometimes and be like, man, I don't know what it is. I don't know why this happens the way it does. But at some point, it's got to stop. You know what I'm saying? It's got to come to an end one day, man. Interesting how I had the alarm pop up. Excuse me on that. But yeah, I mean, it's one of these things where it's just like, as much as we try and make sense of everything, it just doesn't make any sense anymore. It's just like, it is what it is. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, maybe these athletes, sometimes, okay, this is partly what it is too. Sometimes, if this is what has been said. Now, none of these people have said this before. I've not heard like entertainers say this or athletes say this, but I've heard other people say this, that one of the reasons why some of these men may go and deal with the same crop of women is because a lot of their secrets are kept under wraps. But I don't see how that's even possible, because a lot of women do a lot of talking when they have a relationship and they break up. And they, even Megan Thee Stallion had the interview with, Gayle King about Tory Lanez. Of course, she lied. That was exposed during the trial, that she did indeed sleep with Tory Lanez. But she wanted to hide that because she understood that if she admitted that, then it'd be like, well, we know that Tory Lanez allegedly, there's rumors that Tory Lanez got with your friend, and that's why y'all got into a fight. So she didn't want that to be exposed. But, that was all exposed, that she was lying to protect her own image and make herself look like the victim. Which we talked about. Go back to previous episodes. One of my earlier episodes was on the Tory Lanez subject and Megan Thee Stallion. But, it kind of is what it is at this point. People are going to continue to make these decisions in 2025. We're in a very strange world where women who have, who are known, 3-0 foes can, attract these kind of men. And these kind of men don't mind being cupcaking it with them in public and holding their hands and kissing them. And it just doesn't make any sense, because in a country of 350 million people, half of them being women, I mean, you would think that these guys would, there was a saying that men like that had the pick of the litter. But it looks like they just going after stray dogs. You know what I'm saying? And they don't care anymore. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's so many better options and ways for these guys to get what they want out here. And if I could think about somebody, Gordon Hayes, if you look at his situation, like, look what he got. Like, Gordon Hayes got himself a woman that was like, he got a young woman that, didn't run around, married her, has a bunch of kids, from what I recall. I think they have like a few kids. And, he don't got to worry about his woman having a history. He doesn't have to worry about that. He doesn't have to worry about that type of situation. Somebody going crazy, honking at somebody. What the fuck? I hope he ain't honking at me. weird. Yeah, so yeah, it's one of these things where you got to realize, like, you look at these things, and that's why we have to talk about these things, because a lot of times men go out there into the dating market, and they wonder why the women are acting the way they are. Why do they think that they can easily replace you? Why do they think that they can break bad on you and do whatever they want, post whatever they want on social media, and it doesn't have an effect on their next option? I mean, they feel like they can do bad and upgrade, and that's what it kind of teaches women, because in the eyes of these women that are watching, Tory Lanez was like a stepping stone for her to get a better man. So all she did was just upgrade to like a Klay. This is what kind of happened with Lori Harvey. Lori Harvey, the way it appeared to women is that each man that she got with was an upgrade, up until you could say probably like Michael B. Jordan. And then she ended up with Damson Idris, who some would consider a downgrade, because Damson Idris is not the superstar on the level of, he's not a superstar. He's a popular actor. He has a lot of clout. He's very talented, but the mega star in this whole thing is, the megastar in this whole thing is going to be, Michael B. Jordan when it comes to that relationship. That's why it was very weird. That's why, and if you look at it, remember, Steve Harvey really did not like Lori Harvey breaking up with Michael B. Jordan. He knows she made a mistake. You basically left, this generation's Will Smith, essentially. She could have been benefiting on some Jada Pinkett type, where she's living off of his name and his wealth that he's accumulated. But she left him because really at the end of the day, he doesn't present the bad boy imagery. And there was probably some things that she probably didn't like about him, because, he doesn't live on his own. He lives with his parents. He's a very conservative guy. He doesn't really like to spend a lot of his money. If you watch interviews, he talks about how he likes to save his money. He doesn't like to wild out. He enjoys himself here and there, but he thinks about the future. So he's a guy that's very much of a taking his time with the way he does things. And he says, like, hey, he'll have more than enough time to do whatever he wants with his money. But right now he's kind of focused on his career, stacking up his bread, and ain't no telling what kind of investments he's in, but he's kind of playing the long game. And a lot of times women like Lori Harvey, they want you to flash. They want you to pop out with, the G-Wagon Brabus, matte colored with the custom interior, pulling up in a, Bugatti, like all, getting, riding yachts everywhere in Saint-Tropez and, Mykonos. So she probably wanted that. And he was like, nah, I ain't rocking like that. And you see where she's at, still no ring, still no children, and basically being, last thing I heard, she was doing Playboy. She did like the resurgence of Playboy on a digital level, and that came and went, and she's really, it's really hard for these women don't even understand. In the age of social media, and with the amount of women that are popping up on the scene, and with the fact that women can get good looking through surgery, so you got a lot of women that are average and they go and get surgery and they become like a baddie and they go viral, and there's so much attention being drawn away. And every year there's always like a new woman that just makes a name for herself. Now, I can't think of any recently that made a new name for herself, but I'm pretty sure if I search long enough and figure things out, I'm pretty sure I could probably go to like a woman going viral and making a name for herself, especially amongst like the urban community, where a woman pops up and it's like, who's that? She might be dating this rapper and she starts making a name for herself. I mean, that's how all these women, started making a name for themselves. The Aries of the world and the India Royals and the India Loves, they pop up with one of these guys that already established, got a name, and then they live up, they ride that wave. I mean, India Love is still riding the wave from her being with the game like well over a decade ago. Like, she's literally still riding that wave. She rode that wave all the way to DDG. She went through freaking, I think she was with the fighter, the one that fought Ryan Garcia. I forgot his name. His name escapes me, but y'all know who I'm talking about. She was with him. They broke up. So she's riding that wave, and she's with DDG now. DDG was just with Little Mermaid, Haley Bailey. We talked about that situation as well. So, these women, they know what they're doing. But remember, they're a small percentage. We should never forget that. Don't be upset at these women on social media that like are thoughts and they have a name for themselves and they're such a small percentage of the women that are in this country. Okay? The only problem is that the average woman out here is trying to mimic them, and they're looking to live a comparable lifestyle, which is just not possible. So that is where we're having problems as men when we're dealing with these women, but because they want to be like them. You know what I'm saying? But like I said before, there's some good women out there. They're few and far in between, and I talked about it. Go back to my other video where I talked about the young woman or the common denominator in a happy marriage. Woman, there are some good women out there. You just got to search, and you also got to lower some of your expectations in regards to the looks of the woman that you want. Okay, don't chase for the dream girl. Okay, get the woman that's right for you and that has good intentions, which is hard to find. But we have to be realistic as men, especially if you're planning on getting something in Babylon. Especially if you plan on building with a woman in Babylon, you really have to have some proper expectations, okay, when it comes to that. So, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, and let me know what you think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next episode.